Alright, good morning everyone. We are here with break 269. I accidentally put 270, I do apologise. It is fixed up. But we are here and ready to go. I only just noticed that, so everyone that logged on early would have noticed that, but it is fixed up. Alright. I did think we'd be doing 267, but we were waiting for a couple of payments in the RAS. One left to go in that, so we'll be right to do that break tomorrow morning. There we go. Our team list for this morning: Broncos and Raiders for Tony. Morning, Tony. Bulldogs, Sean May. Sharks, Brendan Flowers. Dolphins, Sean May. Titans, Tony. Manly, Sean. Storm, Peter Lowe. Knights, Sean. Cowboys, Tony. Eels, Panthers. Rabbitohs, Dragons. Roosters, Warriors. Tigers, Sean. Alright. Well, that was an easy team list. And we have listed a new break this morning, guys. Let's get started with our starter packets. So I must say, I am getting jealous. I've been seeing people pull a few legends out of the starter packs. I think it's our turn, guys. Let's go. Few people already joined. Welcome. Morning. Number 27 in the gold, Mitchell Moses. If anyone's having issues checking out on the website, with PayPal in particular, we are experiencing issues. We have been in contact with PayPal. They are telling us it's not our end, but we are investigating it further on our end just to confirm that, because it's a bit suspicious. I believe it's the link between us and PayPal somewhere having an issue, but they can't see it, and they're telling us it's the customer's end, and yeah, we're onto it. We're trying to investigate. If you have any issues when checking out, just make sure that your payment hasn't processed before placing another order is the biggest thing. Elliot Whitehead in the copper, number 207. Sorry, I've been dealing with it this morning, and I'm trying to get a post up for it and a notification put on the website, so I thought I'd just mention it now. In the copper, Holly Dodd, number 66. If you do have any issues and you can take note of the exact error that you received and are able to send that through for us, that would be awesome. In the gold, number 27, Lachlan Elias. In the silver, number 87, Mitchell Moses. How good do they open now? So easy. In the copper, number 126, Shante Kira for the Titans. In the copper, number 118, Ewan Aiken for the Dolphins. Number 81 in the silver, April for the Gold Stars. Can we get some sort of noise? That's insane. So my little brothers got sent home from work yesterday and today, quite sick. 163 in the copper, Tyson Brazil for the Knights. In the copper, 198, Jerome Hughes for the Storm. In the gold, sorry, number 97, Adam Dewey for the Tigers. In the copper, 199, Georgia Roach for Knights. In the silver, number 133 for the Tigers. In the copper, number 26, Jason Taumalolo for the Cowboys. In the gold, number 57, Braden Hemlin-Yuli for the Sharks. In the silver, number 77, Ewan Aiken for the Dolphins. In the copper, number 124, Brendan Pakura. Warriors, number 128, in the copper, Adam Fanua Blake. Two left. In the gold, number 43, Georgia Roach for the Knights. And last, hopefully not least, Tyson Frizzell in the silver, number 73. Alright, let's go. Packet time. Season to remember, Matthew Feagai for the Dragons. Blake Laurie parallel for the Dragons. Rising Stars, Kayla Romniak for the Knights. Eels parallel checklist. Christian Welsh, parallel for the Storm. World in League, Luke Keary for the Roosters. Olafiana Khan-Piera for the Titans. Rising Stars, Keanu Kinney for the Titans. Reuben Cotter, parallel for the Cowboys. Women's NRL, Jesse Southwell for the Knights. Jacob Preston, parallel for the Bulldogs. Warriors parallel, Wade Egan. Rising Stars, Jonah Pezzett for the Storm. Jesse Ramian, parallel for the Sharks. Showcase, Reed Marnie for the Bulldogs. Knights parallel checklist. And yeah, thanks heaps, Tony. Once again, it was awesome. Me and Dad smashed over half of it for morning tea. Nathan Cleary, season to remember for the Panthers. Adam Reynolds, parallel for Broncos. Rising Stars, Blake Moser for the Broncos. Jeremy Marshall King, parallel for the Dolphins. Cameron Murray, parallel for the Rabbitohs. Club Heroes, Mariah Denman for the Broncos. Jerome Luai, parallel for the Panthers. Rising Stars, Tyrone Munro for the Rabbitohs. Gerard Rera Hargraves, parallel for the Roosters. Season to remember, Hudson Young for the Raiders. Ben Jabojevic, parallel for Manly. Club Heroes, Payne Husk for the Broncos. Tommy Turbo, parallel for Manly. Rising Stars, Destiny Brill for the Broncos. James Fisher-Harris, parallel for Panthers. Season to remember, Luke Keary for the Roosters. Sean Bloor, parallel for Tigers. Sword and Shield, Jermaine Isako for the Dolphins. Hudson Young, parallel for the Raiders. Rising Stars, Francesca Goldthorpe for the Cowboys. Storm, parallel checklist. Haley Maddock wins NRL for the Broncos. Lindsay Collins parallel for the Roosters. Parallel Jeremiah Nanai for the Cowboys. Rising Stars Tallis Duncan for the Rabbitohs. Alex Johnston parallel for the Rabbitohs. Showcase David Clemmer for the Tigers. Jaden Campbell parallel for the Titans. Melly Hafunga World in League for the Broncos. Regan Campbell Gillard parallel for the Eels. Dad. Rising Stars Sua Wong for the Roosters. Addo Carr parallel for Bulldogs. Don't think so. Oh. Season to remember Nico Hines for the Sharks. Mikhail Ravalawa for the Dragons. Word in League Mikhail Ravalawa for the Dragons. Dolphins parallel checklist. It's a customer. I thought it was the telemarketer. She looked like she had a lanyard around her neck. Rising Stars Carl for the Bulldogs. Jane Gagai parallel for Knights. Season to remember Patil Vet Welsh for the Tigers. Reece Welsh parallel for the Broncos. Sword and Shield Jack DeBellin for the Dragons. Xavier Coates parallel for the Storm. Rising Stars Junior Tupou for the Tigers. Jack Bird parallel for the Dragons. Women's NRL Holly Wheeler for Sharks. Sebastian Chris parallel for the Raiders. I'm not sure if that shows up on camera, if you can see the marks. Looks like they're all like surface scratched in it. I haven't noticed that on any other. First time I've noticed it. I felt it. That's Sword and Shield Max King for the Bulldogs. Victor Radley parallel for the Roosters. Rising Stars Alexis for the Dragons. Josh Papali Big Papa for the Raiders. Season to remember Ruben Garrick for Manly. Isaiah Yeo parallel for Panthers. quite what I was hoping for, but still a nice hit in the retail packs. Number 98, white signature, Ella Costa for the Dragons. Cody Walker, parallel for the Rabbitohs. Yes, please, if you don't mind. Yeah. Andy Robinson, Rising Stars for the Sharks. Selwyn Cobbo, parallel for the Broncos. Showcase Jaden Campbell for the Titans. Murray Talagi, parallel for the Cowboys. Season to remember, Selwyn Cobbo for the Broncos. Sean Johnson, parallel for the Warriors. Rising Stars, Will Warbrick for Storm. Ronaldo Mulatalo, parallel for the Sharks. Bradman Best, parallel for the Knights. Kamali Olika Atu, parallel for Manly. Rising Stars, Robert Derby for the Cowboys. Panthers, parallel checklist. Showcase Nat Butcher for the Roosters. Adam Dewey, parallel for the Tigers. Ben Javovic, parallel for Manly. Season to remember, Daly Cherry Evans for Manly. Jerome Luai, parallel for Panthers. Alright. Rising Stars, Ronald Volkman for the Warriors. Stefano Utakamanu, parallel for the Tigers. Blake Laurie, showcase for the Dragons. Sebastian Chris, parallel for the Raiders. Xavier Coates, parallel for Storm. Rising Stars, Trey Mooney for the Raiders. Jared Herrera-Hargraves, parallel for the Roosters. Club Heroes, Lindsay Collins for the Roosters. Dream Buller, parallel for the Tigers. Rising Stars, Peter Holler for the Raiders. Manly Parallel Checklist. Women's NRL, Batil Vet Welsh for the Tigers. Blake Brayley, Parallel for the Sharks. Thank you. Adam Dewey, World in League for the Tigers. Cameron McInnes, Parallel for the Sharks. Rising Stars, Atessa Poole for the Roosters. Stefano Utakamanu, Parallel for the Tigers. 4 packets left out of the starter packs. Tohu Harris, Parallel for the Warriors. World in League, Shante for the Titans. Greg Marshew, Parallel for the Knights. Rising Stars, Arthur Stephen for the Eels. Tamir Martin, Parallel for the Warriors. Alright, lucky last for the starter packs. Season to remember, Ryan Pappenhausen for the Storm and Valance to wear for the Dolphins. Let's move these out of the way and we will find out what our case card is for today. Number 25, Mr. Sean Lane for the Eels. Alright, let's get these out. Alright, let's rock and roll. Box number 1. Rising Stars, Alfiana Khan-Pierre for the Titans. Dane Gagai, Parallel for the Knights. Season to remember, Batil Vet Welsh for the Tigers. Tohu Harris, Parallel for the Warriors. Showcase Nat Butcher for the Roosters. Cameron McInnes, Parallel for the Sharks. Rising Stars, Brendan Bakura for the Broncos. Stefano Utakamanu, Parallel for the Tigers. Women's NRL, Holly May Dodd for the Raiders. Ben Trbojevic, parallel for Manly. World League, Abigail Roach for the Knights. Jerome Roy, parallel for Panthers. Rising Stars, Tiana Smith for the Cowboys. Jared Hargraves, parallel for the Roosters. Season to remember, Nico Hines for the Sharks. Sebastian Chris, parallel for the Raiders. Gold parallel, Jacob Kiraz for the Bulldogs, number 29. Xavier Coates, parallel for Storm. Rising Stars, Gordon Tong for Manly. Jack Bird, parallel for Dragons. Club Heroes, Taryn Aiken for the Roosters. Micah Sivo, parallel for the Eels. Sword and Shield, Kalen Ponga for the Knights. Max King, parallel for the Bulldogs. For the Roosters, number 22, Black Authentics, Millie Boyle. Wade Egan, parallel for the Warriors. Rising Stars, Hopawate for the Roosters. Titans, parallel checklist. Season to remember, Luke Keary for the Roosters. Murray Talagi, parallel for the Cowboys. Margot Vella, Women's NRL for the Dragons. Cody Walker, parallel for the Rabbitohs. Rising Stars, Ebony Pryor for the Tigers. Selwyn Cobbo, parallel for the Broncos. Toby Couchman, Rising Stars for the Dragons. Jeremy Marshall King, parallel for the Dolphins. World League, Braden Hemlin Yulee for the Sharks. Valance to wear, parallel for the Dolphins. Millie Boyle, Women's NRL for the Roosters, number 13. Greg Marshall, parallel for the Knights. Rising Stars, Mason Teague for the Dolphins. Good morning, buddy. Tamir Martin, parallel for the Warriors. Club Heroes, Isaiah Yeo for the Panthers. Blake Brayley, parallel for the Sharks. Adam Fanua-Blake, World in League parallel for the Warriors. Knights parallel checklist. Season to remember, Blake Wilson for the Bulldogs. Dream Buller parallel for the Tigers. Rising Stars, Jesse Colquhoun for the Sharks. Manly parallel checklist. Sword and Shield team for the Raiders. Isaiah Yeo parallel for Panthers. Molly Olakau'atu, World in League for Manly. Victor Radley parallel for Roosters. Rising Stars, Brendan Hands for the Eels. Big Papa parallel for the Raiders. Season to remember, Alfian Khan-Pierre for the Titans. Christian Welsh parallel for Storm. Sword and Shield, Patrick Carrigan for the Broncos. Blake Laurie parallel for the Dragons. Rising Stars, Ali Leitua for the Warriors. Eels parallel checklist. Vitalina McCaw, Women's NRL for the Cowboys. Jacob Preston parallel for the Bulldogs. 4 packets left in our first box. Showcase, Sean Lane for the Eels. Alfian Khan-Pierre parallel for the Titans. Rising Stars, Ethan Strange for the Raiders. Ruben Cotter parallel for the Cowboys. Elsie Albert, Women's NRL for the Eels. Cameron Murray parallel for the Rabbitohs. Season to remember, Micah Sivo for the Eels. Adam Reynolds parallel for the Broncos. Box number 1 done and dusted. Black SIG, box number 1. We had the white SIG in the mini starter case. Not a bad start to the break, guys. Rising Stars, Benjamin Lovett for the Rabbitohs. Cowboys parallel checklist. Season to remember, Mahalia Murphy for the Eels. Campbell Graham parallel for the Rabbitohs. Showcase, Blake Laurie for the Dragons. Payne Haas parallel for the Broncos. Rising Stars, Jacob Preston for the Bulldogs. Isaiah Katoa parallel for the Dolphins. Women's NRL, Kennedy Sherrington for the Eels. Braben Best parallel for the Knights. Shante World in League for the Titans. Sean Johnson parallel for the Warriors. Rising Stars Dream Buller for the Tigers. Ronaldo Mulatalo parallel for the Sharks. Premiership Predictor for the men's in the Tigers, number 195. I still haven't quite, oh actually yes I do, it's the logo, I worked that out. If I look at the logo in the top corner I can tell. I just keep forgetting. Rabbitohs parallel checklist. Season to remember, Dallin Watine Zalesniak for the Warriors. Adam Dewey parallel for the Tigers. Gold parallel, Sean Johnson for the Warriors, number 76. Mali Olaka'atu parallel for Manly. Rising Stars, Jada Taylor for the Sharks. Panthers parallel checklist. Club Heroes, Tane Tapiki for the Warriors. Luke Keary parallel for the Roosters. Sword and Shield, Valentine Holmes for the Cowboys. Jordan Rapana parallel for the Raiders. World in League, Ewan Aiken for the Dolphins. Scott Drinkwater parallel for the Cowboys. Has anyone really paid attention to the facials in a lot of these shots? Ruby Ellis, Rising Stars for the Eels. Will Warbrick parallel for the Storm. Even in older cards, when I'm going through picking them for orders and that, like that's what stands out to me is a lot of the facial. Season to remember, Dominic Young for the Knights. Ben Hunt parallel for the Dragons. Georgia Roach, Women's NRL for the Knights. Bryce Cartwright parallel for the Eels. Rising Stars, Ronald Volkman for the Warriors. Reed Marnie parallel for the Bulldogs. Luke Keary, World in League for the Roosters. Alexander Brimson parallel for the Titans. Women's NRL Gold parallel, Rachel Pearson for the Eels, number 155. Jason Tormalolo parallel for the Cowboys. Rising Stars, Destiny Brill for the Broncos. Big Tino parallel for the Titans. Rising Stars, Trey Mooney for the Raiders. Latrell Mitchell, parallel for the Rabbitohs. Club Heroes, Dream Buller for the Tigers. Katoni Staggs, parallel for the Broncos. Selwyn Cobbo, season to remember for the Broncos. Jesse Bromwich, parallel for the Dolphins. Rising Stars, Ella Costa for the Dragons. Phoenix Crossland, parallel for the Knights. Sword and Shield team for the Storm. Warriors parallel checklist. Got in league Vitalina Nakor for the Cowboys. Brighton Nakora parallel for the Sharks. Rising Stars, Jesse Southwell for the Knights. John Bateman parallel for the Tigers. Retirement, Josh Hodgson for the Eels. Don't know why I bothered looking for a number. Season to remember, Tyrone Munro for the Rabbitohs. Daly Cherry Evans, parallel for Manly. Sword and Shield, Isaiah Yeo for the Panthers. Liam Martin, parallel for Panthers. Oh, Tom Jenkins, Rising Stars for Panthers. Jared Rees has taken a screenshot of the ladder at the moment so he doesn't forget later. They must be. That can't. Yeah. Daniel Tupou, parallel for the Roosters. Leanne Tafuga, Women's NRL for the Tigers. Corey Horsburgh, parallel for the Raiders. You know what the funny thing is, mate? I didn't even have to say your name. I pulled the Josh Hodgson retirement, like, literally, it's the last card in Eels and I thought of you. And you appeared. Reuben Cotter, showcase for the Cowboys. Harry Grant, parallel for the Storm. Rising Stars, Tom Weaver for the Titans. Zach Lomax, parallel for the Dragons. 2 packets left, box number 2. World in League, Dallin Martin Zalesniak for the Warriors. Jermaine Hopgood, parallel for the Eels. Season 2 remember, Ewan Aiken for the Dolphins. And Toby Sexton, parallel for the Bulldogs. Alright, number 3, let's go. Rising Stars, Zach Labert for the Cowboys. Jai Arrow, parallel for the Rabbitohs. Season to remember, Adam Reynolds for the Broncos. Kurt Capewell, parallel for the Broncos. Zali Faye, women's NRL for the Eels. Tom Gilbert, parallel for the Dolphins. Rising Stars, Thomas Cant for the Knights. Jesse Ramian, parallel for the Sharks. Season to remember, Sean Johnson for the Warriors. Apasai Coruscant, parallel for the Tigers. Showcase, Reece Walsh for Broncos. Lachlan Croker, parallel for Manly. Rising Stars, Shante for the Titans. Isaac Tago, parallel for Panthers. Gail Broughton, women's NRL for Broncos. Roosters parallel checklist. World in League, Felice Kafusi for the Dolphins. Jamal Fogarty, parallel for the Raiders. Rising Stars, Jada Ferguson for the Broncos. Jerome Hughes, parallel for Storm. Season to remember, Bradman Best for the Knights. Jack DeBellin, parallel for the Dragons. John Bateman, gold, parallel for the Tigers, number 78. Mitchell Moses, parallel for the Eels. Rising Stars, Jack Howarth for the Storm. Matt Burton, parallel for the Bulldogs. Club Heroes, Tristan Saylor for the Broncos. David Fafita, parallel for Titans. Sword and Shield, David Fafita for the Titans. Reese Robson, parallel for the Cowboys. Scott Drinkwater, Club Heroes for the Cowboys. Jake Trbojevic, parallel for Manly. Season to remember, Isaiah Tass for the Rabbitohs. Dylan Edwards, parallel for Panthers. Rising Stars, Talon De Silva for the Tigers. James Tedesco, parallel for the Roosters. Rising Stars, Sandon Smith for the Roosters. Kalen Ponga, parallel for the Knights. World in League, Brendan Wakeham for the Tigers. Jackson Ford, parallel for the Warriors. Women's NRL, Gail Broughton for the Broncos, number 175. William Kennedy, parallel for the Sharks. Rising Stars, Blake Wilson for the Bulldogs. Tigers, parallel checklist. Not too far from another members giveaway in the Facebook group, guys, so if you haven't already joined, now's a good time. Sword and Shield, Latrell Mitchell for the Rabbitohs. Bulldogs, parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Wiramu Grigg for the Eels. Philip Semi, parallel for the Titans. Women's NRL, Yasmin Clydesdale for the Knights. Tommy Dearden, parallel for the Cowboys. Sword and Shield team for the Warriors. Matthew Tomoko, parallel for the Raiders. World in League, Georgia Hale for the Titans. Cameron Munster, parallel for the Storm. Rising Stars, Thomas Hazelton for the Sharks. Jaden Sewer, parallel for the Dragons. Season to remember, Valance to wear for the Dolphins. Clint Gufferson, parallel for the Eels. Showcase Campbell Graham for the Rabbitohs. Davida Totola, parallel for the Rabbitohs. Rising Stars, Tane for the Warriors. Ezra Mann, parallel for the Broncos. 5 packets left for box number 3. Saitili Tupanua for the Roosters. Felice Kafusi, parallel for the Dolphins. Season to remember, Tyrone Peachy for the Panthers. Daniel Saifiti, parallel for the Knights. Rising Stars, Holly Dodd for the Raiders. Chance Nico Klokstad, parallel for the Warriors. World in League, Siasipa Talakai, parallel for the Sharks. Nico Hines, parallel for the Sharks. Retirement, Mitch Rain for the Titans. And a Junior Tupou, parallel for the Tigers. Alright, box number 4. Have you got any Maxwell already? Okay. Gonna say, ring Sarah, see if she had any. If not, season to remember, Mikhail Ravalawa for the Dragons. Brian To'o, parallel for Panthers. Showcase Reed Marnie for the Bulldogs. Brendan Smith parallel for the Roosters. Rising Stars Ryan Rivet for the Knights. Raiders parallel checklist. Emily Curtin, Women's NRL for the Tigers. Nelson Asafa Solomona, parallel for Storm. Voting League, April for the Cowboys. Tyrell Sloan, parallel for the Dragons. Rising Stars, Sanua Taruva for the Panthers. Junior Paulo, parallel for the Eels. Initial Authentics, Authentic Initials. Number 177, Ashley Quinlan for the Raiders. Liam Martin, parallel for Panthers. Season to remember, Ben Trbojevic for Manly. Falami Kickout, parallel for Bulldogs. Gold parallel Knights checklist 72. Kieran Foran, parallel for Titans. Rising Stars, Sienna for the Titans. Cowboys parallel checklist. Club Heroes, Xavier Coates for the Storm. Campbell Graham, parallel for the Rabbitohs. Voting League, Corbin Baxter for the Roosters, parallel. Dolly Cherry Evans, parallel for Manly. Nat Butcher, Sword and Shield for the Roosters. Payne Haas, parallel for Broncos. Rising Stars, Xavier Willison for the Broncos. Isaiah Katoa, parallel for Dolphins. Season to remember, Xavier Coates for Storm. Bradman Best, parallel for the Knights. Rising Stars, Will Warbrick for the Storm. Ronaldo Mulatalo, parallel for the Sharks. Rising Stars, Ryan Couchman for the Dragons. Toltor Koala, parallel for Manly. Tiana Penatani, Women's NRL for the Sharks. Sean Johnson, parallel for the Warriors. Voting League, Adam Fanua-Blake for the Warriors. Adam Dewey, parallel for the Tigers. Women's NRL Gold Parallel, Vitalina Nakor for the Cowboys, number 188. Alright, Hamoli Olika R2 Parallel for Manly. Rising Stars, Valance to wear for the Dolphins. John Bateman Parallel for the Tigers. Rising Stars, Robert Derby for the Cowboys. Panthers Parallel Checklist. Club of Heroes, Toby Couchman for the Dragons. Luke Keary Parallel for the Roosters. Season 2 member Valentine Holmes for the Cowboys. Jordan Rapana Parallel for the Raiders. Rising Stars Raymond Vega for Manly. Will Warbrick Parallel for Storm. Sword and Shield team for the Sharks. Ben Hunt Parallel for the Dragons. World in League, Gale Broughton for the Broncos. Bryce Cartwright Parallel for the Eels. Rising Stars, Tessa Poole for the Roosters. Reid Marnie Parallel for the Bulldogs. Season to remember, Jamal Fogarty for the Raiders. Alexander Brimson Parallel for the Titans. Sword and Shield, Dream Buller for the Tigers. Jason Tovalolo Parallel for the Cowboys. Rising Stars, Tyrone Munro for the Rabbitohs. Latrell Mitchell Parallel for the Rabbitohs. Women's NRL Corbin Baxter for the Roosters. Tony Staggs Parallel for the Broncos. Showcase Jaden Campbell for the Titans. Jesse Bromwich Parallel for the Dolphins. 3 packets left for box number 4. Rising Stars, Junior Tupou for the Tigers. Phoenix Crossland Parallel for the Knights. World in League, Jaden Sewer for the Dragons. Warriors Parallel Checklist. Season to remember, Apasai Coruscant for the Tigers. Brighton Nakora Parallel for the Sharks. Alrighty. Another box done and dusted. Rising Stars, Jacob Preston for the Bulldogs, Storm, Parallel Checklist. World in League Parallel, Jerome Luai for the Panthers, Christian Welsh Parallel for the Storm. Season to remember, Jesse Southwell for the Knights, Mikhail Ravalawa Parallel for Dragons. Showcase Renato Mulatalo for the Sharks, Regan Campbell Gillard Parallel for the Eels. Rising Stars, Dream Buller for the Tigers, Josh Adokar Parallel for the Bulldogs. Women's NRL, Shania Power for the Cowboys, Jaden Campbell Parallel for the Titans. World in League, Josh Alawai for Manly, Jeremiah Nanai Parallel for Cowboys. Rising Stars, Jada Taylor for the Sharks, Alex Johnston Parallel for the Rabbitohs. Season to remember, Meli Hafunga for the Broncos, Reece Walsh Parallel for the Broncos. And gold parallel, Tavita Totola for the Rabbitohs, number 31. Dolphins parallel checklist. Dolphins predictor, number 93. Blake Laurie parallel for the Dragons. Rising Stars, Ruby Ellis for the for the Eels. Dane Gagai parallel for the Knights. Club Heroes, Milwaukee Fodawaika for the Titans. Tohu Harris parallel for the Warriors. Sword and Shield, Ruben Garrick for Manly. Cameron McInnes parallel for the Sharks. Rising Stars, Ronald Volkman for the Warriors. Stefano Utikamanu parallel for the Tigers. Season to remember, Lachlan Elias for the Rabbitohs. Ben Jaboyich parallel for Manly. Oh, that is full on. Women's NRL, Ali Brigginshaw for the Broncos. Jerome Luai parallel for Panthers. Rising Stars, Trey Mooney for the Raiders. Jared Herrera Hargraves parallel for Roosters. World in League, Shannon Muru for the Eels. Sebastian Chris, parallel for Raiders. Women's NRL, Lauren Brown for the Titans, number 8. Nice low one, there we go. Xavier Coates, parallel for Storm. Rising Stars, Ella Costa for the Dragons. Jack Bird, parallel for Dragons. Club Heroes, Jacob Preston for the Bulldogs. Micah Sivo, parallel for the Eels. Season to remember, Felice Kafusi for the Dolphins. Max King, parallel for the Bulldogs. Rising Stars, Jesse Southwell for the Knights. Titans, parallel checklist. Sword and Shield, Bulldogs team. Murray Talagi, parallel for the Cowboys. Ewan Aiken, World in League for Dolphins. Cody Walker, parallel for the Rabbitohs. Rising Stars, Tom Jenkins for the Panthers. Selwyn Cobbo, parallel for the Broncos. Season to remember, Dylan Edwards for Panthers. Balance to wear, parallel for the Dolphins. Sword and Shield, Addo Carr for the Bulldogs. Greg Marsu, parallel for Knights. Rising Stars, Tom Weaver for the Titans. Tamir Martin, parallel for the Warriors. Women's NRL, Rachel Pearson for the Eels. Blake Brayley, parallel for the Sharks. Dylan Edwards, showcase for Panthers. Dream Buller, parallel for the Tigers. Rising Stars, Destiny Abril for the Broncos. Manly, parallel checklist. 3 packets left for the box. World in League, Lasana Lutu for the Tigers. Isaiah Yo, parallel for Panthers. Season to remember, Tegan Berry for the Dragons. Victor Bradley, parallel for the Roosters. Last packet for box number 5. Rising Stars, Francesca Goldthorpe for the Cowboys, and Big Papa parallel for the Raiders. Let's go. Excuse me. I'm not doing too bad today, guys. A box every 10 minutes has been the average so far. Rising Stars, Francesco Goldthorpe for the Cowboys. Patrick Carrigan, parallel for the Broncos. Season to remember, Nathan Cleary for the Panthers. Hammer Fido, parallel for the Dolphins. Showcase Jerome Hughes for the Storm. Jackson Hastings, parallel for the Knights. Rising Stars, Sua Wong for the Roosters. Adam Fanua Blake, parallel for the Warriors. Women's NRL, Quincy Dodd for the Sharks. Sharks parallel checklist. World in League, Katoni Staggs for the Broncos. David Clemmer, parallel for the Tigers. Rising Stars, Tallis Duncan for the Rabbitohs. Ruben Garrick, parallel for Manly. Season to remember, Matthew Feagai for the Dragons. Nathan Cleary, parallel for Panthers. Sword and Shield, Tohu Harris for the Warriors. Dragons parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Eliza Salata for the Tigers. Ryan Madison, parallel for the Eels. Season to remember, Ruben Garrick for Manly. Jacob Carraz, parallel for Bulldogs. Corey Horsburgh, gold parallel for the Raiders, number 16. Joey Manu, parallel for the Roosters. Rising Stars, Carl for the Bulldogs. Joseph Tarpanay, parallel for the Raiders. Club Heroes, Thomas Hazelton for the Sharks. Nick Meaney, parallel for the Storm. Rising Stars, Cassie Tohi Hiku for the Eels. Says Sifa Talakai, parallel for the Sharks. Sword and Shield team for the Dolphins. Sean Bloor, parallel for the Tigers. World in League, Sanua Taruva for Panthers. Tommy Turbo, parallel for Manly. Women's NRL, Millie Boyle for the Roosters. Mawaki Fodawaika, parallel for Titans. Retirement, Renee Target for the Dragons. Rising Stars, Isaiah Katoa for the Dolphins. Chad Townsend, parallel for the Cowboys. World in League, Racine McGregor for the Dragons. Damien Cook, parallel for the Rabbitohs. Women's NRL, Georgia Roach, gold parallel number 7 for the Knights. Broncos parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Anessa Biddle for the Sharks. Jermaine Isako, parallel for the Dolphins. Club Heroes, Joseph Tarpanay for the Raiders. Jacob Saifiti, parallel for the Knights. Season to remember, Ryan Pappenhausen for Storm. Dallin Watine Zalesniak, parallel for the Warriors. Sword and Shield, Matthew Tomoko for the Raiders. Hudson Young, parallel for the Raiders. Rising Stars, Connor for the Dragons. Storm parallel checklist. Right, season to remember, Kira Dibb for the Cowboys. Lindsay Collins, parallel for the Roosters. Women's NRL, Lauren Brown for the Titans. Mikhail Ravalawa, parallel for the Dragons. Rising Stars, Mona Lisa Soliola for the Raiders. James Fisher-Harris, parallel for Panthers. Reagan Campbell-Gillard, parallel for the Eels. 6th last packet in the box, box number 6. Rising Stars, Dylan Lucas for the Knights. Josh Addo-Carr, parallel for the Bulldogs. Whoa, brother. World in League, Elliot Whitehead for the Raiders. Jaden Campbell, parallel for the Titans. The worst thing is, I think I sound the same when I'm like him. Season to remember, Hudson Young for the Raiders. Jeremiah Nanai, parallel for the Cowboys. Rising Stars, Lindsay Smith for the Panthers. Alex Johnston, parallel for the Rabbitohs. 2 packets left. Let's go. World in League, parallel for the Raiders. Reece Welsh, parallel for the Broncos. Running Machines, number 78, Samaima Taufa for the Raiders. Dolphins parallel checklist. Alright, box number 7. Rising Stars, Toby Couchman for the Dragons. Joseph Tarpanay, parallel for the Raiders. Season to remember, Jamie Chapman for the Titans. Nick Meaney, parallel for Storm. Showcase, Renato Militalo for the Sharks. Dragons, parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Thomas Camp for the Knights. Ryan Madison, parallel for the Eels. Jesse Southwell, Women's NRL for the Knights. Jacob Carraz, parallel for the Bulldogs. World in League, Maya Hill Moana for the Roosters. Mawaki Fodawaika, parallel for the Titans. Rising Stars, Shante for the Titans. Chad Townsend, parallel for the Cowboys. Season to remember, Mitchell Moses for the Eels. Damien Cook, parallel for the Rabbitohs. Gold parallel, Dylan Edwards for the Panthers. Number 35. Broncos parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Jada Ferguson for the Broncos. Jermaine Isako, parallel for Dolphins. Club Heroes for the Cowboys. Jacob Saifiti, parallel for Knights. Sword and Shield, Clint Gufferson for the Eels. Dylan Weteen Zalesniak, parallel for the Warriors. Rising Stars, Jack Howarth for the Storm. Sifa Talakai, parallel for Sharks. Luke Metcalf, season to remember for the Warriors. Sean Bloor, parallel for Tigers. Rising Stars, Sandon Smith for the Roosters. Storm parallel checklist. Club Heroes, Tegan Berry for the Dragons. Mikhail Ravalawa, parallel for Dragons. Season to remember, Jesse Southwell for the Knights. Regan Campbell-Gillard, parallel for the Eels. Women's NRL, Batil Vet Welsh for the Tigers. Tommy Turbo, parallel for Manly. Rising Stars, Zach Labour for the Cowboys. James Fisher-Harris, parallel for Panthers. World in League, Jason Tormalolo for the Cowboys. Lindsay Collins, parallel for the Roosters. Women's Gold parallel, Emily Curtin for the Tigers, number 40. Hudson Young parallel for the Raiders. Rising Stars, Blake Wilson for the Bulldogs. Addo Carr parallel for the Bulldogs. Sword and Shield team for the Panthers. Jaden Campbell parallel for the Titans. Rising Stars, Thomas Hazelton for the Sharks. Dane Gagai parallel for the Knights. Women's NRL, Holly Wheeler for the Sharks. Tohu Harris parallel for the Warriors. Showcase, Dylan Edwards for the Panthers. Cameron McInnes parallel for Sharks. World in League, Brendan Pakura for the Broncos. Jeremiah Nanite parallel for the Cowboys. Rising Stars, Talon De Silva for the Tigers. Alex Johnston parallel for the Rabbitohs. Season to remember, Melly Hafunga for the Broncos. Reece Walsh parallel for the Broncos. Sword and Shield, Jake Trbojevic for Manly. Dolphins parallel checklist. World in League, Georgia Roach for the Knights parallel. Sebastian Chris parallel for the Raiders. Running Machines, Jermaine Isako for the Dolphins, number 12. Xavier Coates, parallel for the Storm. Rising Stars, Wiramu Grieg for the Eels. Stefano Utamanu, parallel for the Tigers. 3 packets left for box number 7. World in League, Taylor Wong for the Dragons. Ben Trbojevic parallel for Manly. Season to remember, Lachlan Ilias for the Rabbitohs. Jerome Luai parallel for Panthers. And last packet for the box. Rising Stars, Tane for the Warriors. Jared Hargraves parallel for the Roosters. Alright, let's go box number 8. So including this box, we've got 6 boxes to go, guys. Rising Stars, Valance to wear for the Dolphins. Matt Burton, parallel for the Bulldogs. Season to remember, Mackenzie Wiki for the Raiders. David Fafita, parallel for the Titans. Showcase a group card. Reese Robson, parallel for the Cowboys. Rising Stars, Andy Robinson for the Sharks. Jai Arrow, parallel for the Rabbitohs. Women's NRL, Tyler Wong for the Dragons. Kurt Capewell, parallel for the Broncos. World in League, Serena Matoka for the Sharks. Tom Gilbert, parallel for the Dolphins. Rising Stars, Arthur Stephen for the Eels. Kalen Ponga, parallel for the Knights. Luke Brooks, season to remember for the Tigers. Jackson Ford, parallel for the Warriors. Gold parallel, Ella Costa for the Dragons. Women's NRL, number 168. Bulldogs, parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Keanu Kinney for the Titans. Philip Semi, parallel for the Titans. Club Heroes, Abby Church for the Eels. Tommy Duden, parallel for the Cowboys. Rising Stars, Peter Holler for the Raiders. Tigers, parallel checklist. Club Heroes, Alfiana Khan Kiera for the Titans. Jake Trebojevic, parallel for Manly. Sword and Shield, Felice Kofusi for the Dolphins. Dylan Edwards, parallel for Panthers. Rising Stars, Alexis Tanay for the Dragons. James Tedesco, parallel for the Roosters. Season to remember, Cameron McInnes for the Sharks. Matthew Tomoko, parallel for the Raiders. Women's NRL, Emma Manzelman for the Cowboys. Cameron Munster, parallel for Storm. Rising Stars, Kayla Romniak for the Knights. Jaden Sewer, parallel for the Dragons. World in League, Mitchell Moses for the Eels. Clint Gufferson, parallel for the Eels. Season to remember, Mia Wood for the Roosters. Tavitas Tola, parallel for the Rabbitohs. Rising Stars, Blake Moser for the Broncos. Ezra Mam, parallel for Broncos. Sword and Shield team for the Eels. Felice Kafusi parallel for the Dolphins. Gold parallel Blake Laurie for the Dragons, number 70. William Kennedy parallel for the Sharks. World in League Adam Dewey for the Tigers. Daniel Saifiti parallel for the Knights. Rising Stars Jonah Pezzett for the Storm. Chance Nicole Klokstad parallel for the Warriors. Season to remember Matt Burton for the Bulldogs. Nico Hines parallel for the Sharks. Sword and Shield Cameron Munster for the Storm. Junior Tupou parallel for Tigers. Rising Stars for the Cowboys. Tolotolo Koala parallel for Manly. Rising Stars Dean Madison for Manly. Raiders parallel checklist. Jacob Carraz, World in League for the Bulldogs. Nelson Asafa Solomona parallel for Storm. Destiny Brill, Women's NRL for the Broncos. Brian Totter, parallel for Panthers. Showcase Felice Kafusi for the Dolphins. Brendan Smith, parallel for the Roosters. Season to remember, Kieran Foran for the Titans. Tyrell Sloan, parallel for the Dragons. Rising Stars, Terrell May for the Roosters. Junior Paulo, parallel for the Eels. 2 packets left for the box. World in League parallel for the Tigers. Losano Lutu Valami Kickout parallel for the Bulldogs. We have white signature number 25. Ashley Quinlan for the Raiders. Kieran Foran, parallel for Titans. Alright, another box done and dusted. Let's go. Rising Stars, Sua Wong for the Roosters. Eels parallel checklist. Season to remember, Daly Cherry Evans for Manly. Jacob Preston parallel for the Bulldogs. Women's NRL, Caitlin Johnston for the Knights. Cameron Murray, parallel for the Rabbitohs. David Fafita, World in League for the Titans. Adam Reynolds, parallel for the Broncos. Showcase, Corey Horsburgh for the Raiders. Alafiana Khan Piera for the Titans, parallel. Rising Stars, Tallis Duncan for the Rabbitohs. Ruben Cotter, parallel for the Cowboys. And we are up to box number 9, guys. Rising Stars, Carl for the Bulldogs. Jeremy Marshall King, parallel for the Dolphins. Season to remember, Nick Meaney for Storm. Knights, parallel checklist. So the breaks are sold out in a weird order, guys. Remember, we're doing break 267 tomorrow. Gold parallel, Kieran Foran for the Titans, number 54. 270 was down to 6 spots. Sorry, Wade Egan, parallel for the Warriors. We also listed break 271 today with 272 as coming soon. Rising Stars, Eliza Salata for the Tigers. Jesse Ramian, parallel for the Sharks. These larger case breaks will be starting to slow down, guys. We'll start to look at listing something different soon. So if you're interested in being a part of one of these breaks, I suggest you get in as quick as possible. Corbin Baxter, World in League for the Roosters. Jack DeBellin, parallel for the Dragons. Women's NRL, Leanne Tafuga, gold parallel, number 114 for the Tigers. Mitchell Moses, parallel for the Eels. Rising Stars, Cassie Hiku for the Eels. Matt Burton, parallel for the Bulldogs. Club Heroes, Wirimu Grigg for the Eels. Apasai Coruscant, parallel for the Tigers. Sword and Shield, Mikhail Ravalawa for the Dragons. Lachlan Croker, parallel for Manly. Rising Stars, Isaiah Katoa for the Dolphins. Isaac Tago, parallel for Panthers. Season to remember, Scott Drinkwater for the Cowboys. Roosters, parallel checklist. Women's NRL, Nevada George for the Tigers. Jamal Fogarty, parallel for the Raiders. Rising Stars, Anessa Biddle for the Sharks. Jerome Hughes, parallel for Storm. Sword and Shield team for the Roosters. Kurt Capewell, parallel for the Broncos. I was just thinking that with the Tigers card I put in there, for some reason I wanted to say Dragons and I struggled not to say Dragons. Semi Valemi, World in League for the Cowboys. Tom Gilbert, parallel for Dolphins. Some sort of special, I tell you. Rising Stars, Connor for the Dragons. Kalen Ponga, parallel for the Knights. Season to remember, Luke Brooks for the Tigers. Jackson Ford, parallel for the Warriors. Saratoga Tuki, Club Heroes for the Tigers. David Fafita, parallel for the Titans. Season to remember, Mackenzie Wiki for the Raiders. Reese Robson, parallel for the Cowboys. Rising Stars, Mona Lisa Soliola for the Raiders. Joy Arrow, parallel for the Rabbitohs. Sword and Shield, Jermaine Isako for the Dolphins. William Kennedy, parallel for the Sharks. Rising Stars, Dylan Lucas for the Knights. Tigers, parallel checklist. Women's NRL, Anessa Biddle for the Sharks. Jake Trbojevic, parallel for Manly. Showcase, Tolator Koala for Manly. Dylan Edwards, parallel for Panthers. Rising Stars, Lindsay Smith for Panthers. James Tedesco, parallel for the Roosters. World in League, Nelly Hafunga for the Broncos. Matthew Tomoko, parallel for the Raiders. 4 more packets for this box. Season to remember, Cameron McInnes for the Sharks. Cam Munster, parallel for Storm. Rising Stars, Alfiana Campiera for the Titans. Jaden Sewer, parallel for the Dragons. Jaden Sewer, World in League for the Dragons. Clint Gutherson, parallel for the Eels. And we have a Dally M Predictor for the men's, number 21 in the Roosters. Bulldogs parallel checklist. Alright. Another box done and dusted. Box number 10. Let's go. I'm going to chuck that in there now just to get it out of my way. I think everyone's had a chance to see what the case card was today. Alright, box number 10, let's go. Rising Stars, Andy Robinson for the Sharks. Daniel Tupou, parallel for the Roosters. Season to remember, Emma Tony Gato for the Sharks. Corey Horsburgh, parallel for the Raiders. Showcase Bunty Afoa for the Warriors. Harry Grant parallel for Storm. Rising Stars, Arthur Stephen for the Eels. Zach Lomax parallel for the Dragons. Women's NRL, Emily Bass for the Titans. Jermaine Hopgood parallel for the Eels. World in League, Jerome Luai for the Panthers. Toby Sexton parallel for the Bulldogs. Rising Stars, Peter Holler for the Raiders. Big Tino parallel for the Titans. Season to remember, Jackson Paulo for the Roosters. Scott Drinkwater parallel for the Cowboys. Gold parallel, Nico Hines, number 27. Rabbitohs parallel checklist. World in League, Holly Dodd for the Raiders. Nathan Cleary parallel for Panthers. Gold parallel, Holly Dodd for the Raiders, number 36. Joey Manu parallel for the Roosters. Rising Stars, Blake Moser for the Broncos. Joseph Tarpanay parallel for the Raiders. Rising Stars, Alexis for the Dragons. Patrick Carrigan parallel for the Broncos. Club Heroes, Campbell Graham for the Rabbitohs. Hammer Fido parallel for the Dolphins. Sword and Shield, Nico Hines for the Sharks. Jackson Hastings parallel for the Knights. Rising Stars, Kayla Romniak for the Knights. Adam Fanua Blake parallel for the Warriors. Season to remember, Jaden Ockenbaugh for the Bulldogs. Sharks parallel checklist. Sophie Holloman for the Raiders. David Clemmer parallel for the Tigers. Rising Stars, Keanu Kinney for the Titans. Ruben Garrick parallel for Manly. Sword and Shield team for the Rabbitohs. Jacob Carraz parallel for the Bulldogs. World in League, Tyson Frizzell for the Knights. Milwaukee Fotoika, parallel for the Titans. Rising Stars for the Cowboys. Chad Townsend, parallel for the Cowboys. Club Heroes, Tamika Upton for the Knights. Nick Meaney, parallel for Storm. Season to remember, Jamie Chapman for the Titans. Dragons, parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Jonah Pezzett for the Storm. Brian Madison, parallel for the Eels. Season to remember, Mitchell Moses for the Eels. Damien Cook, parallel for the Rabbitohs. Sword and Shield, Jermaine Hopgood for the Eels. Broncos, parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Dean Madison for Manly. Jermaine Isako, parallel for Dolphins. Ella Costa, Women's NRL for the Dragons. Jacob Saifiti, parallel for the Knights. Showcase, David Clemmer for the Tigers. Alan Bettine Zalesniak, parallel for the Warriors. Rising Stars, Terrell May for the Roosters. Sifa Talakai, parallel for the Sharks. World in League, Anessa Biddle for the Sharks. Sean Bloor, parallel for the Tigers. Season to remember, Luke Metcalf for the Warriors. Tommy Turbo, parallel for Manly. 3 packets left for the box. Rising Stars, Benjamin Lovett for the Rabbitohs. James Fisher Harris, parallel for Panthers. World in League, parallel Semi Valemi for the Cowboys. Lindsay Collins, parallel for the Roosters. And retirement, George Burgess for the Rabbitohs. Hudson Young, parallel for the Raiders. And that is the end of the box. Leaving only 3 boxes left to go for the break. 2 hobby boxes left and our priority. So, box number 11, let's go. So remembering, most of the breaks for 24 traders have pretty much been 3 hours. We're going to be a bit quicker than that today. Brendan Pecura, Rising Stars for the Broncos. Philip Sammy, parallel for the Titans. World in League, Jerome Hughes for Storm. Balami Kickout, parallel for the Bulldogs. Season 2 member Mia Wood for the Roosters. Tommy Dearden parallel for the Cowboys. Showcase a group card number 2. To edit Tola, parallel for the Rabbitohs. So we have 2 of those group cards that will randomise at the end. Each one will be between all 17 spots. Rising Stars, Tiana Smith for the Cowboys. Ezra Mam, parallel for the Broncos. Women's NRL, Isabel Kelly for the Roosters. Felice Kafusi, parallel for the Dolphins. World in League, Mikhail Ravalawa for the Dragons. Daniel Saifiti, parallel for the Knights. Rising Stars, Gordon Tong for Manly. Chans, Nicole Klokstad, parallel for the Warriors. Season to remember, Matt Burton for the Bulldogs. Nico Hines, parallel for the Sharks. World in League parallel, Gale Broughton for the Broncos. Alexander Brimson parallel for the Titans. Gold parallel, Cam Munster for the Storm, number 10. Junior Tupou parallel for the Tigers. Rising Stars, Hopewade for the Roosters. Poltor Koala, parallel for Manly. Club Heroes, Blake Brayley for the Sharks. Brian Totter, parallel for Panthers. Sword and Shield, Harry Grant for Storm. Brendan Smith, parallel for the Roosters. Rising Stars, Ebony Pryor for the Tigers. Raiders, parallel checklist. Season to remember, Kieran Foran for the Titans. Nelson Asafa Solomona, parallel for Storm. Women's NRL, Jamie Chapman for the Titans. Tyrell Sloan, parallel for Dragons. Running Machines, Adam Fanua Blake for the Warriors, number 64. Jason Tormalolo, parallel for the Cowboys. Rising Stars, Mason Teague for the Dolphins. Junior Paulo, parallel for the Eels. Gold parallel, Quincy Dodd for the Sharks, number 188. Kieran Foran, parallel for Titans. Wade Graham, retirement for the Sharks. Rising Stars, Jesse Colhoun for the Sharks, Cowboys Parallel Checklist. Clubs Heroes, Samai Matofa for the Raiders, Campbell Graham Parallel for the Rabbitohs. Season to remember, Mahalia Murphy for the Eels, Payne Huss Parallel for the Broncos. Rising Stars, Brendan Hands for the Eels, Isaiah Katoa Parallel for Dolphins. Rising Stars, Thomas Cant for the Knights, Reed Marnie Parallel for the Bulldogs. Sword and Shield Team for the Titans, Bradman Best Parallel for the Knights. World in League, Shael for the Raiders, Sean Johnson Parallel for the Warriors. Rising Stars, Ali for the Warriors, Ronaldo Molitalo Parallel for the Sharks. Season 2, remember Dallin Wateng Zalesniak for the Warriors, Adam Dewey Parallel for the Tigers. Sword and Shield, Reese Robson for the Cowboys, Amoli Olaka'atu Parallel for Manly. Rising Stars, Ethan Strange for the Raiders, Panthers Parallel Checklist. Women's NRL, Madison Bartlett for the Raiders, Luke Keary Parallel for the Roosters. 4 packets left for box 11. Felice Kafusi Showcase for the Dolphins, Jordan Arapana Parallel for the Raiders. Rising Stars, Toby Couchman for the Dragons, Will Warbrick Parallel for the Storm. World in League, Lachlan Elliott for the Rabbitohs, Ben Hunt Parallel for the Dragons. Season 2, remember Dominic Young for the Knights, Bryce Cartwright Parallel for the Eels. Right, time for our final box of the case. Box number 12, let's go. Leaving just the priority for last. Definitely not least when it comes to last when you're talking about priority. Alright, let's go. What will our final box bring? Rising Stars, Holly Dodd for the Raiders, Jack Bird Parallel for the Dragons. Yeah, please, finish soon. Felice Kafusi, Season to remember for the Dolphins, Micah Sivo Parallel for the Eels. Made really good time on this one. Showcase, Corey Horsburgh for the Raiders, Max King Parallel for the Bulldogs. Rising Stars, Ryan Couchman for the Dragons. Titans Parallel Checklist. Women's NRL, Jessica Surgis for the Roosters. Murray Talagi, parallel from Cowboys. World in League, Justin Olam for the Storm. Cody Walker, parallel for the Rabbitohs. Rising Stars, Ryan Rivet for the Knights. Selwyn Cobbo, parallel for the Broncos. World in League, David Fafita for the Titans, parallel. Jack DeBellin, parallel for the Dragons. Season to remember, Dylan Edwards for Panthers. Valence to wear, parallel for the Dolphins. Gold parallel, Murray Talagi for the Cowboys, number 50. Swear the Cowboys stars very dull in some of these. I don't know if that's because of the women's now being called the Gold Stars, so they've lightened up the men's, or Greg Marzu, parallel for the Knights. Rising Stars, Sanua Taruva for Panthers. Tamir Martin, parallel for the Warriors. Excuse me. Club Heroes, Dylan Lucas for the Knights. Blake Brayley, parallel for the Sharks. Sword and Shield, Max King for the Bulldogs. Dream Buller, parallel for the Tigers. Rising Stars, Sienna Lupu for the Titans. Manly, parallel checklist. Season to remember, Tegan Berry for the Dragons. Isaiah Yo, parallel for Panthers. Initials, number 192, CNK for the Warriors. Mitchell Moses, parallel for the Eels. Women's NRL, Georgia Hale for the Titans. Victor Radley, parallel for the Roosters. Rising Stars, Xavier Willison for the Broncos. Josh Papali'i for the Raiders. World in League, Joseph Tapane for the Raiders. Christian Welsh, parallel for the Storm. Gold parallel, Tiana Penatani for the Sharks, number 92. Blake Laurie, parallel for the Dragons. Retirement, Josh Reynolds for the Bulldogs. Rising Stars, Will Warbrick for Storm. Eels, parallel checklist. Club Heroes, Jermaine Isako for the Dolphins. Jacob Preston, parallel for the Bulldogs. Rising Stars, Junior Tupou for the Tigers. Jerome Hughes, parallel for Storm. Season to remember, Delhi Cherry Evans for Manly. Alfiana Khan Piera, parallel for the Titans. Rising Stars, Robert Derby for the Cowboys. Ruben Cotter, parallel for the Cowboys. Sword and Shield, Reece Welsh and Patrick Carrigan, team for the Broncos. Cameron Murray, parallel for the Rabbitohs. World in League, Alex Johnston for the Rabbitohs. Adam Reynolds, parallel for the Broncos. Rising Stars, Raymond Vega for Manly. Jeremy Marshall King, parallel for the Dolphins. Season to remember, Nick Meaney for the Storm. Knights parallel checklist. Sword and Shield, Jack DeBellin for the Dragons. Wade Egan, parallel for the Warriors. Rising Stars, Atessa Poole for the Roosters. Jesse Ramian, parallel for the Sharks. Women's NRL, Zahara Tamara for the Raiders. Adesai Coruscant, parallel for the Tigers. 4 packets left for the case. Is there anything left? Showcase Tolator Koala for Manly. Lachlan Croker, parallel for Manly. Does the case have anything left to give? Well, let's find out. 3 packets to go. Rising Stars, Tyrone Munro for the Rabbitohs. Isaac Tago, parallel for Panthers. World in League, Jacob Saifiti for the Knights. Roosters, parallel checklist. Season to remember, Scott Drinkwater for the Cowboys. Jamal Fogarty, parallel for the Raiders. Alright, I'm just going to push these to the side and let's go with the final box, our priority box. Rising Stars, Blake Wilson for the Bulldogs. Tolator Koala, parallel for Manly. Season to remember, Felice Kafusi for the Dolphins. Brian To'o, parallel for Panthers. Showcase Blake Laurie for the Dragons. Brendan Smith, parallel for the Roosters. Rising Stars, Talon Da Silva for the Tigers. Raiders Parallel Checklist. Emily Bass Women's NRL for the Titans. Nelson Asafa Solomona Parallel for Storm. World in League, Alex Johnston for the Rabbitohs. Tyrell Sloan Parallel for the Dragons. Rising Stars, Thomas Hazelton for the Sharks. Junior Paulo Parallel for the Eels. Season to remember, Dylan Edwards for the Panthers. Belami Kickout Parallel for Bulldogs. Gold Parallel, Jeremiah Nanai, number 81 for the Cowboys. Kieran Foran Parallel for the Titans. Rising Stars, Rumi Greig for the Eels. Cowboys Parallel Checklist. And our first priority for today, number 15, Rumi Greig for the Eels. Campbell Graham Parallel for the Rabbitohs. Sword and Shield Max King for the Bulldogs. Payne Haas Parallel for the Broncos. Rising Stars Tane for the Warriors. Isaiah Katoa Parallel for the Dolphins. Season to remember, Tegan Berry for the Dragons. Bradman Best Parallel for the Knights. Avasai Coruscant Parallel for Tigers. No, my bad. Women's NRL, Sophie Hollyman for the Raiders. Sean Johnson Parallel for the Warriors. Rising Stars, Holly Dodd for the Raiders. Renato Molitalo Parallel for the Sharks. Jacob Saifiti, World in League for the Knights. Adam Dewey Parallel for the Tigers. World in League, Emily Curtin. Lucky we're near the end, I've got something to blame. Gold Parallel, Women's NRL, number 91, Emily Curtin. Molly Olakaatu Parallel for Manly. Rising Stars, Ryan Couchman for the Dragons. Panthers Parallel Checklist. Club of Heroes, Blake Brayley for the Sharks. Ooh, number 1. He's not fullback, is he? Blake Brayley for the Sharks. No. Okay, yep. Luke Keary, parallel for the Roosters. I don't know, for some reason I just I thought he was. Even still, number 1 can't complain. Running Machines, Jakaya Whitfield for the Tigers, number 109. Liam Martin, parallel for Panthers. Season to remember, Dally Cherry Evans for Manly. Jordan Ravana, parallel for the Raiders. Rising Stars, Ryan Rivet for the Knights. Will Warbrick, parallel for Storm. Sword and Shield team, number 43 for the Panthers. Ben Hunt, parallel for the Dragons. World in League, Serena for the Sharks. Bryce Cartwright, parallel for the Eels. Rising Stars, Sanua Taruva for Panthers. Reid Marnie, parallel for the Bulldogs. World in League, parallel, number 5. Ewan Aiken for the Dolphins. Dally Cherry Evans, parallel for Manly. Season to remember, Nick Meaney for Storm. Alexander Brimson, parallel for the Titans. Sword and Shield, Jack DeBellin for the Dragons. Jason Taumalolo, parallel for the Cowboys. Rising Star, Sienna Lafippo for the Titans. Latrell Mitchell, parallel for the Rabbitohs. Where are we going? 6th last packet for the break. Ella Costa, women's NRL for the Dragons. Tony Staggs, parallel for the Broncos. We lost a bit of time on that last one. Rising Stars, Will Warbrick for Storm. John Bateman, parallel for the Tigers. Showcase, Ruben Cotter for the Cowboys. Jesse Bromwich, parallel for the Dolphins. Rising Stars, Xavier Willison for the Broncos. Phoenix Crossland, parallel for the Knights. World in League, Mitchell Moses for the Eels. Warriors, parallel checklist. And last packet for the break. Let's go. What do we got? What do we got? And season to remember, Scott Drinkwater for the Cowboys and Brian Nakora, parallel for the Sharks. Alright, don't go just yet, guys. We have 3 randomizations to do. We have our 2 group cards and our $100 gift card. So let's get them done. And see how we go. let's change screens. There we go. Everybody is loaded in and ready to go already. I am just going to copy so I can paste again. Alright, number 1 for the first group card, showcase group card. Number 2 and lucky last, number 3, Sean May with the Bulldogs. Alright, let's refresh. Number 1, number 2, and lucky last, number 3, Sean May with the Bulldogs again. Alright, no offense Sean, but hopefully it's another spot. I don't go by names, I go by the teams, guys, so yeah, I'm happy if it's just another team. Number 1, and this is for the $100 voucher, guys. Number 2, and lucky last, number 3, Tony Luxton with the Raiders and Bulldogs in a close second. Alright, congratulations guys, thank you for all tuning in, and don't forget to check out the breaks that are live on the website at the moment to be a part of the next one. We will be live with break 267